family. Hope you enjoyed the fashion show. Listen, it's the last Sunday in Black History Month, and we just wanted to have a casual discussion on what Black history looks like to you, whether it's American history or African history or history from, your own country. What does your history look like? How do you engage with that? And then finally, we want to talk about how do you show up in the world as an individual of color or a minority individual, or just in general, what does that look like? Let's go. When I think about Black history, I separate African American history from African history, right? So for me, when I think of African history, there's this celebration around it, connected with the food and the music and just the history that connects with my own culture from Jamaica. When I think about African American history, I think more of the struggle, of the difficulties of the past and of the challenges of the present. And so it's an interesting dynamic. It's very complex when you think of both. So what I do is I try to learn more about both histories and my own history. I read books. Right now I'm reading a book entitled Barracoon for February. And it's a very powerful story about one of the last slaves to leave Africa for the Americas. And so, I connect with it that way.
Growing up, we didn't necessarily have Black history, but we would celebrate our heroes.
National heroes.
We are from Jamaica and they were reverberated throughout schools. I remember the story of Marcus Garvey, Sam Sharp, Nanny. I even recently published an article talking about how we can actually use the traditions or the resiliency and the things that we've been through as a people in resistance to slavery, how we can use those tools to kind of transform our Jamaican culture. Very, very interesting article. So I identify through that, and now that I'm here in the US, at times unintentionally or subconsciously, I feel this gaze, right? Sometimes as a woman, you would feel obviously when you are in a profession that's male dominated, or if you walk in a room where you're the only one that looks like you, and kind of that's similar to the era that we live in, and also my profession now where I am the only one that looks like me in a room. I feel like I'm being watched. So I'm more conscious of everything that I do. I try to make sure I do it 110% because I feel like I'm representing other Black women, other Jamaican women. I feel like what I do now, I'm opening up the door for others coming after me. So that's how I connect my history to where I am now and, my childhood and so on.
You just answered how you show up in the world as well. Yeah. It's important, and Chanel touched on it, that you find out and you ask yourself, well, how do I show up in the world?
I feel like I'm the happiest when I'm able to express myself and bring a little bit of my culture. I like to drop my little patwa every now and again and not code switch when I'm in the presence of others who are of influence, right? I want to be able to bring my culture with me, so that's actually a part of my identity.
So assimilating your culture with the culture of where you live. Think about how you show up, not just for Black History Month, but in general. How do you show up? Are you authentic with individuals around you? Because that means if you're authentic, then no matter what culture you're interacting with, you'll be able to have strong bonds. I guess the challenging question is, do you even care to know about other cultures around you so that you can understand and form strong bonds and be able to share who you are authentically with them and they with you?
Another thing I wanted to say as I reflect on the African history is that I find myself being triggered by slavery movies or reliving those moments. In February, usually they would have special movies, music, plays, and all of that. And personally, I'm triggered by them, so I just stay away from them. So I feel like you can identify with your culture without not necessarily reliving those horrific moments. And I don't like that part of it for me. I
think that's why in our culture we actually celebrate the rich parts of our history. Like, for example, right now in Jamaica, February is Reggae Month.
In summary, for me, I identify with my history through memories of growing up on the national heroes, and then how I show up in the world because I'm in a different country, in a different culture right now. I find myself just being a lot more conscious of just how I conduct myself professionally and even, in public when I'm out, because of the gaze that I feel is upon me as a black woman, and the need to make sure that, you know, I am being professional and, you know, just showing up as an individual who can pave the way for others. Because the fact of the matter is, in the US, some of the gatekeepers may have biases towards African Americans. And another important thing, I think you were touching on it earlier, is the fact that although I am a Jamaican, I am bunched into the African American group. So, you know, if I'm being stopped by the police, or if people see me, you know, they're not
African
gonna
American, right?
differentiate whatever culture I'm from. I'm an African American. So.
Right. I think for me, it's I acknowledge the struggles, both past and present, but I also celebrate the uniqueness of our culture.
Yes.
Right. And then how I show up is, you know, being authentic, being transparent, and not being afraid of who you are. Right. Don't be afraid to be yourself.
Don't hide it because you're in a different place.
Right. And, you know, some individuals may be taken aback by who you are, how you express yourself, but show up in the world as your authentic self and shine. Right. Don't be afraid to do that. So
yeah, and if you are rejected by an individual for work or institution or friendship groups, you're just not meant to be in those groups, because if you're authentic about who you are, you will attract, or you will find the right fit for you, you know, where you won't have to always be compromising and, you know, feeling miserable. So if you do show up as yourself and you get rejection, don't feel like, oh, it's the end of the world. It just literally means you're just at a place where you're not at the right fit with the friends that you are trying to hang out with the job you're applying for, stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. So hey, you have a few more days left in Black History. Come on, read some books, right? Find out more about the culture. You know, recognize, you know, acknowledge the struggles, but also find the points to celebrate and show up as your authentic self. Right? Thank you for joining us. Please like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you next Sunday.